In this video, I will give you the 3 steps on how to set standards in relationships, because what often happens when we do is that we face the fear of abandonment. Welcome to Next Level Consciousness with Linnea Stella, and I want to start with an example from my personal life. Because I've been very abundant in other areas of life and have a lot of trust in the universe, but for some reason, when it came to romantic relationships, I was in total scarcity mindset, in total lack. And I thought, okay, I can either find someone who is very attractive physically, but they're very uninteresting mentally and they're not on my level spiritually, or someone that I'm not attracted to physically, but we are vibing on the same level in other areas. And it was quite recently that I realized, why am I holding on to that idea? It's simply false. The idea that we have to choose between one and the other is matrix thinking. It is duality, and that is not the truth of who we really are. So as I always say, either or is boring, both and is expanding. And throughout the video, I will talk mostly about romantic relationships, but this applies to any kinds of relationships. So if you recognize this within yourself, that you also have this scarcity around relationship and you think that, okay, I need to choose between this and that, and I can never find someone that truly satisfies me deep down. I want you to know that to the universe, all our wishes and desires are equally easy to manifest. The universe doesn't discern. So the idea of easy and hard is really within you. And I invite you to take a deep breath right now and just feel into your right to set boundaries and have standards, and that is actually gonna enhance your life and make it more magical and not gonna make you miss out, because that's very important for you so that you can take in the content of this video and actually apply it. And I also recommend you to watch my last video if you haven't already, all about knowing when to compromise and when to set boundaries. So let's dive into the 3 steps. So imagine that you have gone through the steps in the last video and you have decided that this is actually a situation where I need to set my boundaries. And you communicate your boundaries to the partner and they decide that they don't want to be with you anymore because you are not agreeing on a central value in the relationship. For example, maybe you want something more serious and they want something less serious, which is a deal breaker, let's be honest. Now, if you are in scarcity and lack mindset, what happens when this relation ends is that, among other things, you may feel fear that you will never find someone better. And you may feel tempted to go back into this connection and into this relationship, because what if there is nothing better out there? And we also have this conditioning that, you should be happy with what you have, you shouldn't always look to grow, but that is old school thinking. And there are situations when it applies, because no relationships are perfect. But if you have arrived to the point that, okay, we're disagreeing on this central value, the best and most loving thing that you can go is to part ways. And here is a very important message. Never ever lower your standards in order to get love. If you think about physics, we think about vibrations. How can you lower your standards to reach love that is a higher vibration? Because love is among the highest vibrations that exist. It is simply not possible. So every time you lower your standards, not only do you betray yourself and lower the amount of love you have for yourself, which is always where you should pour love first, but you also lower your possibilities of actually finding love, because love vibrates high once again. So never ever lower your standards to get love. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. So step 1 of setting standards is to make sure that your standards come from love and not from fear. And love always starts with you. You are the I, number 1. And if you don't pour love into yourself first, that's when we'll get into those very messy codependent patterns and getting enmeshed and depend on other people, and there are a lot of bitterness and frictions that will arise. So it always starts with you loving yourself first, and that is how you're gonna share the love with other people in the relationships. And sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is actually to realize this connection doesn't work. And of course it can be very, very challenging, because there can be a lot of emotions. There can also be guilt and shame about leaving a relationship, whether it is someone that you are kind of dating, more of a situationship, or a serious relationship. But if this decision is coming from a place of love, it is gonna be the most loving thing to do in the big picture. Because if you have the possibility to find someone who agrees, who are more on your level with the central values of a relationship, they will also be able to do the same. And then there is more overall harmony and love in the universe. So how can that be a bad thing? Also, when your standards are grounded and rooted in love, it's gonna be easier to hold on to them in moments when you maybe regret your decisions and you feel a little lonely, a little emotional, and you think, oh, maybe I should just lower my standards, I should let this person back into my life, maybe I should settle for breadcrumbs and whatever they have, even if that means this constant friction that I'm constantly betraying myself. It is better than nothing. But it is not, because remember, when you lower your standard, you won't reach love, which is up here. So if you ask yourself, how do I know if a boundary is in alignment with love? I once again recommend you to watch my last video if you haven't already, but also pace it towards self-love. Measure it towards self-love. Does this feel like the most loving thing to myself? Because then it automatically will be the most loving thing for everyone, because we're all one. So an example of a fear-based standard may be, I expect you to always reply to my texts within 5 minutes, for example. Maybe to you, maybe to the other person it sounds reasonable, but to me it sounds like something that may come from past trauma, and that you really want to feel reassured in every minute, and that there is not so much trust in the relationship, but you know best what's best for you. It's just to invite you to check, is this boundary, is this standard vibing with love or with fear? Step 2 in how to set standards is to communicate your standard. So now in step 1, you know that, okay, this is a good standard because it is in alignment with love. Then the next step, that can be a bit scary, is to communicate those standards to the person it concerns. And you can do this through words, through attitudes, energetically, through actions. But what happens when you communicate your boundary to the person is one of two things. Either they will rise with you, or they will leave. And the thing is that you don't have control of what they choose. So you need to surrender. And I have lately started to set boundaries in a very direct way by confronting the other person. And I can tell you that it is so liberating. But the reason that I can do it in such a direct manner is that I am very grounded in my decisions. I know that they are coming from love, regardless of the other person's reaction. And that is why it's possible for me, because before I was always second guessing myself, and maybe I'm asking for too much, maybe I'm being too harsh, and so on. But now I am at a place where I'm so grounded in my decisions. And that is what I want for you as well. And remember, a tip when you confront another person is to always talk about your experience instead of blaming them. So for example, when you do A, I feel B. When you don't give me a hug when I come home, I feel abandoned. This is about your experience. It's not about saying you are stupid, you are careless, is that a word? It's not about jumping to a conclusion or blaming them or saying, hey, you don't care about me because you don't give me a hug. You see the difference there. And I know in what way I would prefer to be confronted. So the third and final steps is to surrender. Surrender to whatever the other person chooses, and remember that you cannot control them, and they have the right to act however they want to your new boundaries. Since your new boundaries are firmly rooted in love, it is the best thing for everyone involved, and you just have to trust it. And you just have to trust that it is either this or something better. If you feel that nagging fear and you feel like, will I ever find another person like this? It is always this or something better. That's just how the universe works. And you know why? Because the universe is constantly expanding. Nature is constantly evolving. You are part of nature and the universe, so you are constantly evolving too. If you don't let fear hold you back, that is when you can find yourself repeating the same situation over and over. You have the choice to break the cycle and to choose love instead of fear. And this person may rise to your level and come back, but you don't have control of it, and you have to let go of that idea. And then we come to this letting go part. Is like, how do I let go? The simplest way of letting go, in my experience, because I have a lot of experience, is to focus on your life purpose, is to really do what you love, because that will fill you up with love, with purpose, with fulfillment, with meaning. If you don't know your life purpose, start by doing something that brings you joy. If you don't know what brings you joy, stop doing things that bring you down energetically. So those are my tips. Thank you all for watching. If you got any value from this video, please hit the like button, because I just like big numbers. And subscribe if you want to improve your relationships and just be emotionally intelligent and live a wonderful life. See you in the next vid.